See how bad it is. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the New Media Show. My name is Todd Cochrane. Of course, I want to welcome you to the show and welcome my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Good morning, Rob. How are you?
Doing terrific, Todd. A little earlier for us, but I'm always happy to join you to talk about the podcasting space and stuff that's going on.
Well, we're advancing in technology here. On Tuesday,
Awesome.
Spectrum called me and said, we have 1 gig internet for you. We knew it was coming. And
Wow.
So the installer came Wednesday and they monkeyed around for 4 hours. And I was the number 1 install in Oahu. And,
Really?
I had 320 before, and I was supposed to get 1,035. Now, the reason they're limiting the uplink is everyone shares the up, and I didn't know that up prior to this time. And so anyway, long story short, they're going to incrementally increase it. So today we are doing Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and we're doing live stream live on the same connection. You're on your own connection still, and the health is good on everything right now. So those of you that are on Facebook, good morning, and if you see an issue with the stream, let us know.
That's awesome, Todd. 3 places.
Yeah.
So which of the 3 are you going to use for your player embed? For the website.
We're YouTube Live right now on the website.
You are?
newmediashow.com/live. Yeah. So, hey, Rich, long time no here. Cool. Kelly Joe, good morning. Mike Dell, good morning. If you're hanging out with us live, make sure you say hello in the chat room. And either on newmediashow.com live or on facebook.com where we're at there. We just tweeted, or at least where I'm going to tweet here in the next microsecond. But this is a big month. You know why this is, Rob? That's why this is a big month?
No, I can't think of it. What might it be?
Hey, Santa Claus is coming every day the month of December.
Oh, that's right. Your gift program that you're doing.
Well, yeah, awesome. Prizes and giveaways. So we're starting kind of slow out the gate. Yesterday was ATR 2100. Today is a iRiver, I think, lav microphone. And then we'll have some big surprises in amongst the 30 days of giveaways, upgrades, free service. You name it. So
it's like an advent calendar for Raw Voice Blueberry, right? Is that what it is?
It's a what?
It's like an advent calendar. You're giving away a prize each day. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like an advent calendar.
Yeah, prize a day and it's hashtag build your blueberry. So we're kind of excited about it. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
And yeah. So anyway, yesterday the first post went up, and the picture in the Blueberry post was an RE 400 or 200, and then the giveaway was so one guy was like, "That's not the microphone you're giving away." I'm like, "Yeah." So I kind of text the team, "Hey, let's make sure that the tweets and the giveaways match the image. Don't use some stock photo image of some microphone." And yeah. So anyway,
yeah,
because that's a little deceptive. I said, yeah, it is a little deceptive. So
yeah, because that's a completely different microphone, a little bit different price tag.
Yes,
too.
Yes, it is,
as I recall.
But we have that caliber stuff coming. So yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, as you get closer to Christmas, does the value of these items get more?
No, they're randomly sprinkled in there, so you have to stay on your toes. But yeah, so anyway, we'll see how it goes. We got some other stuff coming next week too, so I can't. You are going to be like, when we make this announcement, Rob, you're going to be like, why are we not doing a new media show this next coming Saturday? Because you're going to want to give me the Spanish Inquisition on this thing. So,
well, we could, because you're going to be here in Seattle. We could just do it.
That's true, but you'll be able to corner me and say, what is this? Yeah. So anyway, so that's, of course I'm touting that with the, having found like 10 more bugs last night sent to the programmer. No, you're not done. And Mike too. You're not done. You got to fix these. So,
well, we could actually do it from the show. We just use Spreaker. I could do it off my tablet.
We could. I guess we'll have to see. Of course, I don't get in until 8 a.m. or something like that Saturday morning. So it probably.
Oh, you don't?
Okay. Yeah. And of course, by the time I run to the to Uber and get or Lyft or whoever, probably gonna use Lyft.
Yeah. The whole show is going by then.
Yeah. So sure. I'll drop my bag at the hotel and hopefully be able to take a combat shower and then into the show. But anyway, we're digressing. Next week is PodCon, folks, in Seattle.
Yeah.
So I'll be in Seattle. Mackenzie will be in Seattle. Rob is already in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. And Daniel J. Lewis is going to be staying with me at my house.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, he'll get to tell you all about what we're doing because I gave him an early look.
Yes, and I get to scold you, right? Is that the idea?
No scolding. No scolding.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're pushing the envelope. We're pushing the envelope. So, but anyway, everything's good.
That's good. Well, and Spreaker announced a new feature this week as well. We launched private sharing. So
that's cool.
Publish an episode and push it out to just the people you want to push it out to.
So it doesn't go in a feed at all. It's just what you do, send by email or what?
Yeah. It's just it's not a capable of almost like a premium podcast or anything like that,
right.
Where you have to, you can only, it's subscription based or anything like that. It would just be being able to send it directly out to people.
How do you hide that file? Do they have to use a custom naming, or do you scramble its eggs so it doesn't look something that people can guess?
That's a good question. I didn't ask the team if they were concerned about that as much as it was just, not making it available publicly on the website.
Right.
So I think that's probably what it mostly is. So yeah, you would probably be wise to use a different naming convention of some sort on there.
Right.
And actually every episode does have a different naming convention on it to some degree anyway. So if you don't use the same naming structure as a regular episode, then it should be fine.
I see. Mike Dellinson Chase says loose lips sink ships. Yes, indeed. So I'm trying to not give any hints there, Mike. So, but the that's I think what we're finding too is a lot of podcasters are having challenges with this premium model. Their shows just aren't big enough to support.
Yeah.
A large number of folks, go ahead.
But I do get a lot of people asking me about that. Do you support, paid premium subscription stuff? And I go, no, it's not really that popular of a model today. But, to some shows, it's important to have that as a possible tool.
Yeah.
But like you say, it's usually a small amount of shows or a small number of shows that can really take advantage of that.
There was a short thread about that user-supported model yesterday or last night on Facebook, and someone was asking, do you disclose your Facebook number? I mean, your contribution numbers. I think on Patreon, you can see it. I think it's publicly there available. I don't think you can hide it. But personally, I've taken PayPal from the beginning, and nothing against Patreon, but their terms of service to me kind of turned me off, and is one of the reasons why I have never used Patreon. as far as, doing support for Geek News Central, but I've always done PayPal. So I have a thing where people can become what I call an insider, and there are tiers to contributions, and then they get something when they've contributed $1,000. And so it's a little different model, but, just like on the last show, I talked about, if you see on the blog that the last 2 or 3 days of the month, there's not a lot of content. And that's because we've run out of budget. I budget so much for blogging in the month. And when the writing team hits their upper end of that, sometimes there's 2 or 3 days at the end of the month where we don't have any blogging. And I said, now, if you want to see more content on the website where we can carry, up the budget a little bit, need a few more people to step up and become insiders and help contribute to, to the ongoing sustainment of the site and the show. So, my blogging budget every month has gotten pretty significant. So, and I know a lot of podcasters can't afford to do that, but I was transparent because I've always said the money that you give goes back into the show. It pays. So now I've got a executive producer who helps me with show prep. I for 12 years I didn't have that, and now I've got someone that helps me with helps with the blogging. That's been for a long time. That stuff doesn't come at an insignificant price. So the disclosing what we earned was important. So and another thing they were like was, well, why don't you create? I don't create premium content for my audience. I go to events like CES and create, spend $20,000 outside of, that's in my budget.
It's all free content. It's
right.
All freely distributable. Right. Yeah.
So, that's how I give bonus content to my team. Their contributions to the show, and of course the sponsor of the show. Thank God for the sponsor. Because things I'd have to scale things back a little bit. A lot. So, what's your thoughts? Should podcasters disclose to how much money they're making, or give a general sense of what the money's being used for when people do contribute?
I don't know. I think it's up to each of the podcasters to make that determination. I think it's almost like a score, right? It's the same thing with displaying your plays and download numbers.
Right.
I think some podcasters feel comfortable with it and some don't, and it's like on the Spreaker platform, we display all of our download and play numbers, but there is an option to turn them off. So some shows will turn them off.
Right.
And it's the same with, Todd, we've talked about this a lot. I know a lot of the early kind of business podcasters would say how much money they make from their online business that they have as a way of, telling people that, my method out there is better than someone else's because I've got a bigger check, So there's some bragging rights that go on there that people get attracted to, and it's a marketing technique in some ways. If you have pretty low numbers, you're probably not going to be wanting to share that. If you have big numbers, it's probably going to help you to share it, I suppose. So that's the mental psychology that I think that goes on with even sharing your download and play numbers. Is that if your numbers are big, it looks good. If the numbers are small, maybe not so good for you.
I've and the user contributions are not crazy. It doesn't pay the whole bill. It doesn't pay the blogging bill completely. So they contributed to it. So, it's, so I've never had a model that was, where I had to have the cash from the audience to survive. That was, if it becomes a point where I lose my sponsor, then I'll probably turn into beg mode, pretty quickly, What, if it's a model that some shows do, and if they love the content, hopefully they'll contribute $10, $15 a month.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And I've always been, Rob, my position too is I like to talk about how the money's used, not how much money came in. And there's only been a few times in the past 13 years that I've actually laid dollar amounts down. Like 2 or 3 years ago, I was given a presentation on, the 10 years it took to get to where the show was at, and what started out as a $300 a month sponsorship, and where it ended up, and the potential was at 10 years was the genesis of proving that this thing is not a drag race. This thing is a marathon. So, but I've always been very, it's just like, hey, Rob, how much Spreaker pay you over there? That's like would be the most uncomfortable question for someone to ever ask someone, right?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about people that are putting that information online. It's just it would be that same feeling if you came to me and said, Todd, what's your salary at Blueberry? And I'd be like, that's
exactly.
It's none of your business, right? That would be the so you gotta have a certain personality to like put your money out there, and then you wonder,
Well, and it's also even that same thing applies to your play and download numbers to some degree too.
Right.
I know back when, and maybe I talked about this in the past on the show, but when Spreaker decided that they were going to make the display of your numbers optional on your Spreaker show page, I went in and turned off my numbers for the show that I do. But then I had this weird feeling, and I also heard from the Spreaker team that many of the podcasters on that platform were actually using that public display as where they go to get the numbers for how many people are listening to their show. So it's almost like they weren't going to their stats page in the platform to get those play and download numbers. They were going to their public page to get that. And so when we took that down off the pages, a lot of podcasters were lost. It's like, well, how come I can't get my numbers now? It's just like, did you know that you actually had an area in the platform that you could go that has analytics, that you could get detailed information? But most of the podcasters were just going to their homepage or going to their page on the platform and getting their numbers right off of the page like any listener could.
Right.
So I turned the numbers back on my site, not for that reason, because I go in and look at my analytics page too. But I thought for a second there that once you've had them up for a long time and made them public, you can't. It's
the genie's out of the bottle.
Yeah, exactly. It sends the wrong message to turn it off.
Yeah.
Once it's been out there like that, right?
Yeah.
It's like well, what do you have to hide?
That's right.
That's the psychology that goes on. So if you started a show and you've never displayed your numbers and you've built a big audience, and it's all about setting expectations with your audience. And that's that applies to a lot of things in podcasting. It's like a show that's been running for years that doesn't have any advertising in it, and all of a sudden you put in 2 or 3 host reads and you're doing some dynamic insertion. That's a big change for the audience to actually experience that, because they've never experienced that on your show before. So in some ways, if you have the intent of having advertising in your show at some point, you might want to start off with advertising when you launch your show and just do an affiliate deal or something like that and get into it right away, because you're building expectations in your audience that then you don't want to rattle with or try and adjust. I don't know, Todd, what's your thought about it? I mean, when you started your show, you didn't have advertising, did you? Or
no.
Did you? Yeah. And so what was that adjustment period that you had to go through with your audience to add sponsors?
Well, I told them early on. The wife put me on a clock. I told them the early days, I did the first 6, 7, 8, 9 shows in Waco and came home and told them I'm doing this podcast. And she's like, what are you talking about? And she's non-technical completely. And, almost, and she does everything on her iPad now. They doesn't. If I had to ask her to do something on the laptop, she just gives me a dirty look. So, when I came home, she was like, "Okay, yeah, we've been down this road before. It's like a boat. You throw another $1,000 at it, right?" And she says, "You got 2 years to figure out how to make money with this thing." So I was like, "Okay, guys, I'm home, and the wife is cool at the show, but we're on the clock. We got to figure out how to monetize this in 2 years." So I told the audience that would be actively pursued. You know what I got hurt most from? This tells you how insane it was in the early days. And episode 69, I announced that I had done the book deal with Wiley Publishing, and then that I would be publishing and releasing the first book on podcasting. I lost it. And people were like, "Oh my God, you would have thought that I killed the Pope. I lost half."
You sell out, Todd.
Oh right. My God, you took money. So in a sense, even though I had told them, I was like this piranha for having taken money to write a book. Think about how things have changed.
Yeah, that's true.
Now
back in the early days, Todd, you're exactly right. Back in the early days, it wasn't cool to have ads in your show. Not at all. I mean, this was all about freedom of speech, sticking it to the man, killing radio, and one of the big reasons that this whole medium really took off was as a reaction to how a certain segment of people out there really hated radio.
Right.
And they were sick of the advertising loads that were in radio, and they were sick of getting yelled at. They were sick of the broadcast type mentality. And that's what really propelled this medium forward, was that anti-establishment type of feel. And there were companies in the early days of this medium that started to, like Audible. They came out with their perfect advertising platform that was going to apply DRM to podcast audio files. And if you don't know what DRM is, it's content play and distribution restrictions that are built into the media file.
Right.
That was popular back in the early days of music distribution. It's not so much a big issue anymore. DRM is really kind of not cool anymore. But back in those days, that's how shows monetize. If you look at Audible used a very proprietary DRM that would allow their media files to be played on certain player devices based on them having a deal with them.
Yep.
So in that's common in the music business back in those days. But yeah, they got drummed out of the industry because they tried to do that.
Yeah.
It just was it was really tone deaf to what was happening in the podcasting space at that time. And you're right, Todd, things have changed a lot when it comes to that.
Well, Rob, let me show you how good this internet protocol stuff works sometimes. Yeah. Okay. This is your picture on my system right now. You're froze. You're live on Skype, but it's not updating in the system.
Oh, so your board has got me locked. Huh?
Yeah, you're froze lock. Yeah. So you're like Luke Skywalker in the wall. But anyway.
Yeah, but I can see myself moving on the monitor.
You can, yeah. So over here you're moving, but the NDI transfer to the box is like so. So what has happened too is that I got real fancy with this new switch and had the routes all isolated, and I bricked it.
Oh no!
Yeah, I bricked it. So I'm on a different switch right now, which doesn't have managed ports, and I'm getting a replacement sent in. So that's the reason for this. Is I am trying to do too much on that circuit, not have stuff. It's gotten real fancy here. But this is what I love to do. I love to push the envelope, and I'm glad I can still see you here, or and the audio audience doesn't care.
Hey Todd, I was seeing it. There was some sort of a news article that I saw. I think it was a video or something like that. It was talking about some new technology that was being pushed out there that would basically that was being used by employers to as part of the interview process, where they would analyze an applicant's face.
Really?
Yeah. So you would call into it's almost like a Skype call, and you would do your interview, and this software would analyze your face while you're doing the interview and answering certain questions. And I guess they've got some algorithm now, and it just, I was thinking about as we were doing this show. I mean, some podcasters do their shows where they do live video, like we do,
right?
And one of the factors that that I heard them talk about was, and this is like a judgment on the person that's being interviewed, right? And whether or not they're qualified for a job, is if the person looks into the camera when they're talking to them, you get higher marks.
Well, of course, because what the person is interviewing you is looking at you.
No, but the software is going to rank you based on what you do looking at the camera. And so and the reason I'm raising this is that I have a tendency to look down or
me too.
at a different location because we're looking at our screens, right?
Right.
So we're not. So oftentimes while I'm talking, I'm actually reading at the same time.
Yeah, me too.
But for me to look directly at the camera like I am right now, you get higher ranks for that, I guess, as part of the hiring process. So, but a lot of people don't look at the camera when they're doing Skype calls.
Right.
It's a psychological thing. That's kind of why the employer would value that over. I guess it's being able to focus, I guess.
I think, though, if you think about being in a meeting, you're not always looking at the participants in a meeting. You're looking at your laptop, or you're looking at your notes, and you're looking around. And if you're talking, you might be looking at the person directly. So that's the difference between, and that's also something about having a camera presence too. The good people that are on, on YouTube and are on, do live, have a good camera presence, and remember that camera is where you're supposed to be looking instead of the screen. But, just like me, or just like, that didn't make any sense. Just like you, when I'm doing my show, I'm looking at articles, and I'm bouncing around, and I'm looking up periodically to the camera. But so it's interesting on the interview process. But I think if I was going to be doing an interview, here's the kicker: you got to get that camera. Like my webcam is here, it's off center. Yeah. So if I was doing whenever I'm using, doing a Skype call, I grab that camera and I move it to center of the desktop. I don't want it there for the show, but I move it back over here. Yeah. Let's talk about this Jacobs Media article you sent.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's do it. It's actually some research that they did, I guess, on the smart speaker, kind of trending and phenomenon that's happening out there right now. And we should jump to it. Are you going to pull it up?
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah. Okay. So it looks like it's some research that they did from November 17th to the 21st. Looks like they did a web survey among 1,000 online respondents, 13 and older. And it looks like, here, let's go to page 1 here. So more than 1 in 6 online households already owns a smart speaker. And 40% own 2 or more. So it's still a growing market. It's not like massive yet, but it definitely. What's really interesting is the adoption, the even adoption across age groups, or fairly even adoption. I guess it's not quite as even as I thought it was. If I actually look at the numbers, Todd, if you scroll down a little bit.
Okay, go ahead. I'm trying to fix your video. Go ahead.
So it says, of all online respondents 13 plus, about 18% already owns a smart speaker, and I guess the male-female distribution 20% to 16%. I don't quite understand that. Does that make sense to you, Todd? Oh, of the people that own this? Oh, of the population. I think that's what that would be, right? Of the overall population.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So not really clear. And then the age group, 25%, 13 to 34, is also the highest ownership classification. I would, that classification, the 13 to 34, is not very helpful. I have to say. That's not the right range, right, Todd?
Yeah, and they've got a whole, I just opened the PDF, and I don't have that sequence to be able to go up on the website, but I was going to look and see if
you do.
See if the PDF has any more information.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it actually has slides in it. It actually has slides in it. That's actually what I'm talking about here.
Okay, let me see if I can add that. Keep talking. Go ahead.
So the adoption of this smart speaker device is 13 to 34 is about 25%, 35 to 54, 17%, and 55 plus about 12%. And that's the percent who own a smart speaker of the population. And it looks like 60% own one smart speaker and 40% own two or more. So it's growing pretty fast. The current smart speaker owners who plan to purchase a smart speaker is like 61%.
Yeah,
what it looks
huge.
like.
It's huge.
Yeah, so that's, I guess, that's 61% plan to buy another one. Is that what that's telling us?
Let's see. One in five online households intend to buy a smart speaker this holiday season. Current owners 3 times more likely to purchase one. So additional one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're going to purchase an additional one this holiday season. Okay, those are pretty high percentages for that.
Well, you look at the folks at folks have been very aggressive. Look at Amazon and the pricing that they're basically giving them away.
$49 or something like
it's
that
just,
for the.
It's been really inexpensive.
Small
so, and I tell you who's a big loser here. Apple. Apple really blew it by not getting their device out. They're just falling more and more, and they're essentially irrelevant. When it comes to this. So, it's very interesting.
Yeah, because didn't Apple announce that they were going to release one and then they pulled it back?
Yeah, they delayed.
Right?
They delayed it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, they sure did. They delayed it. So we forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, for those of you that are with us live, the reason we're starting early today, my son has a mandatory, we have a cleanup to do on the beach, and it's a fundraiser, so we had to leave right at the same time we'd have been live, so that was the reason we were early today. But, all right, so let me bring this back. Yeah, you're completely black on my screen now. My sync attempt didn't work, so we'll switch between the two cameras here in the studio.
Should I drop out and go back in again?
No.
Nope?
We'll finish up this way. We're good. So I was looking at, I'm watching I think I agree with you. For last week, we were talking about how our news feeds were full of everything podcasting. Definitely, Facebook has tweaked their news algorithm again, because I'm hardly getting anything that's not podcasting on my Facebook news feed. It's actually driving me a little crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So you're seeing the same thing.
Yeah. Just
only podcasting.
Only.
Yeah.
So, and they went too far, and I'm having to go to people that I want, like my mom and my sister. I have to go to their profiles to see anything that they've said. There's nowhere in my It doesn't show up in my feed whatsoever. And they're siloing us into these silos, and it's not good. And thank God I'm not in some political silo. People would be, that's, unhealthy.
Yeah, I don't know what Facebook is thinking by doing that.
That's what we have groups. That's what we have groups for, to go to the groups, but I'm getting the group feed continuously in my news feed, and it's just, all right, I love podcasting, but I don't need to live it every moment of the day. So
it does feel like a really significant level of control that Facebook is imposing on their users. That should be a choice that we as a user make in this process.
I agree.
Of narrowing our focus down like that. It shouldn't just be made for us like that.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. So a couple things in the news. A lot of people are still trying to do this, translation of audio. Matter of fact, there was some stuff that was announced at the AWS where they're making available, and it's expensive to do audio to text. Is processor fees on a server is like $1.50 an hour, and if you do the math on that, that's not inexpensive, and that's, I don't know how many translations it can do in an hour, but there's just still a lot of pushing to try to get some sort of semblance of data out of spoken word.
Each time that one of these audio search companies goes down, there's always another one right behind it trying to reinvent the wheel again, and then they wind up failing, and then it's just this vicious cycle that's been going on for years around that particular endeavor of trying to index audio into text, and it's guys, it's just not worth it to do it.
I know.
I hate to say it.
And they've got an audio editing program. It's called SpeechBoard, and they use it. It finds you edit it does a translation of the audio, and then you edit by reading the text in your audio editor. And I think that one's a little bit odd too. But how come you're not down in Portland today? Did you know about this Portland Podcast Festival? Did you even know it was going on?
No, I didn't. What's going on down there?
The Portland Podcast is happening today. It's founded by Jason Lav of Minority Retort, Jason Niebler and Sarah X. Dillon, both of Fun Employment Radio. Okay, I'm familiar with Minority Retort, but it's going to be, it's like a fan festival, and it's starting.
Oh, that's probably why.
Yeah, it's starting tonight at 5, and it'll last to midnight. Fun Employment Radio, Minority Retort, Geek in the City, Room of Requirement 237, Rip City Bad Boys, Reading the Bible at the End, Reboot, Reuse, Recycle, and there's just a whole list here. But here's my challenge, with this type of a festival. How many of these folks actually have local fans? If I reach out and say, hey, let's do a meetup here in Hawaii of the people that listen to my show, and 5 or 6 people are going to show up, it's.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's why local podcasting is still a little bit of a difficult thing. Because, I don't know how many listeners we have to this show in, like, say, the Seattle market or Hawaii or whatever, but you're right. It's probably, just a handful of people probably.
Yeah. You'd find bigger numbers in metropolitan.
Yeah.
There'd be bigger numbers in metropolitan areas, but Honolulu's not the mecca center of podcast listening.
Yeah, that's true.
If I look at my stats, Texas, if I go to Texas, I have a pretty good meetup. Doesn't matter which city. I have a huge, it's my number one state, for listening audience, but still, it's just a percentage.
Well, Todd, if you go to PDX podfestival.com,
PDX
PDX podfestival.com. You can see who's behind it, and all of the sponsors are like local companies, cannabis company, a brewery, a donut store,
of course,
iced tea company.
Of course, the weed company's going to be there. Gotta have the weed.
Well, it's legal in Oregon, so it's the whole West Coast.
This is they love black.
Yeah, they do. So let's see the podcasts. So the Minority Retort. So they're all local podcasts, right? Seattle or Portland podcasts?
I don't think they're Portland specific. No podcasts. There's very few podcasts that are city specific.
No. I'm not talking about their content.
Oh, they must be specific. From. Yeah. They must be from
that area down.
Right.
Yeah, because one of the podcasts is titled "Portland at the Movies." That's what one of the titles of one of the podcasts. So maybe this is a bunch of shows that are produced by local producers.
So you got 2 beer companies, an iced tea company, 2 weed companies, Guardian Games. I don't know who that is. So yeah, these guys must love their weed. So 50,
it's a big thing in all of the West Coast states right now.
53 years old, never smoked a joint. Yes, I'm a square.
January 1st, it's going to be illegal in the whole state of California. So
as soon as they open it up in Vegas, you can't walk down Fremont Street with getting hit in the face about 8, 9, 10 times.
It's already legal there too.
They're already asking for it to be made legal. See, now I've told you about this, right? There's a big push in California, in Seattle, and Washington. All the cannabis users want the laws changed so that they can smoke weed inside establishments.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen.
So smokers, get on board. You got the weed guys behind you. They want to be able to smoke inside.
Yeah, you don't have to go outside in the rain and smoke your cigarette, right?
And I'll be honest with you. Having grown up in the 80s and partied in the 90s, as soon as they started banning smoking in nightclub establishments, it just ruined nightlife across America completely. People quit going out.
Yeah.
Because everybody, I don't want to get secondhand smoke. You should have been on the airplanes I was, where I had a smoker here, a smoker there.
Oh, I bet.
I'm still alive.
Yes. For now. So, I think it's an interesting. There's certainly nothing wrong with the Portland Podcast Festival.
No.
It's cool, but it is kind of a sign of what's happening to this medium, that all these events are popping up in all the cities in the country. It's just one now. PodCon in Seattle. Seattle didn't have a podcasting festival before either, but now they do. And now Portland has one. And,
I've seen a lot of people talking about the PodCon in Seattle, and I said, just like other events we went to, we'll give them a pass for year 1, and we'll see how they do on year 2. Hey, Chris, thanks for jumping in the chat room.
Yeah, I've already given the organizers feedback on what they're doing, what they've done already. So I've already given them my thoughts.
All right, cool.
So hopefully they'll be more, more inclusive next year. It might be a good way of describing it. Yes.
There was an article I had to laugh about, and it was from brandcastingu.com talking about attracting binge listeners for massive download growth.
I was going to talk about that one too.
Okay,
yeah.
We've got about 7 minutes before we have to bounce. What was your thought on that one?
Well, I think that the concept of binge listening with podcasting, I mean, it's certainly been around for a long time. I mean, it's not a new concept, but what they're combining it with is the Podfasters kind of topic that's been popping around. I did a whole Spreaker Live show episode on podfasting. And what podfasting is people that listen to their audio programs at half or 1.5 double speed and 3 times speed. And I guess it's cool if you can handle it to all the way up to 10 speed now. It's like, really? 10 speed? That's how fast you're going to listen to the audio programs. And I know that a couple of podcasts have pushed back on this movement, saying we don't really want our audiences listening to our podcast at 3 speed because it breaks up the continuity of the production that was produced. And a lot of the shows spend a lot of time with their pacing and how they produce their program to make it sound the best. And what these people are doing are basically destroying that by playing it at like a Minnie Mouse speed.
Right.
So, and some shows it's going to work well on. It's like I was joking on the show that I did about this, that if you happen to be a podcaster, like Chris Hardwick is a good example of a guy that talks at double speed. Can you imagine listening to his show at 2 or 3 times speed? Because he's already talking at 2 times speed.
I had a situation where I accidentally hit the 1.5 times button, and I was driving, and it was driving me crazy. I handed my phone over to my son. I said, "Figure out how to." And the next thing I know, it's like 3 times, 5 times, and I was just like, I almost want to like roll the window down and throw up. I can't listen at at high speeds. And you're right; it breaks up the pauses and the flow, and to me it just sounds very, very, very unnatural.
But it's I guess it's a hot trend for I think the number that I've seen is like 20% of podcast listeners have at least tried podfasting. So there's a new term that's been coined, Todd. Podfasters.
And by the way, for the on that article, those guys are self-hosting their own media. So about 5,000 of you go over there and download this episode right now, and cause their website to go.
Yeah, well, that, and it's probably not going to support byte range requests.
Yeah, most
really?
web servers support byte serving. Most do.
Do they now? Okay,
yeah,
well, that wasn't always the case.
Not always
that
the
wasn't
case.
Always the case.
Yeah, but sometimes we still find one here and there that don't.
But I think the whole concept of binge listening, I think, probably is a trend that's probably more appropriate to kind of storytelling type podcasts. But I do know that I've had a lot of listeners in the past, and I'm sure you have as well. That and didn't you at one point recommend that people? No, probably not for your show. But I've heard a lot of podcasters say to go back and listen to my first episode or something like that. Or
don't go back and listen to my first episode.
Yeah. But some will actually say that, right? So they'll say, because what I'm talking about are topics that are related to whatever the subject is over a long period of time. So, and oftentimes people will go back and listen to those older episodes if the topic of the program is like evergreen content, right? So, that's where the binge listening comes in.
Over all the years I've been doing shows, I've only had maybe a handful of people go back and listen to all the way back to the beginning. And I got a super fan, and I said, by the time you get to 1243 or 1244, I'll see you in 5 years. You'll be back because you're never going to want to listen to me ever again. So I appreciate him going back and listening to old episodes. And he was sending me emails about stuff and reminding me stuff I'd said in the show. And it's good to have that's almost like an archivist job. But it's just like, and I haven't heard from him for a while. So maybe he already hit the wall.
But I guess if you have a show that really, really caters to binge listening, your number of plays and downloads can really skyrocket.
Yeah. So
it's this and those shows tend to be ones that can monetize pretty effectively with dynamic ad insertion. So
Clinton's in chat. He says, if a podcast is voice only, I'll often listen at 1.8. I just can't do it. It's just and I'm the guy. I'm the guy that changes out. I have 100 new shows in my playlist every 2 weeks. So if anybody should be speed listening, I should, but I can't. Yeah.
Well, I think if you speed listen, you're going to miss things. I don't see any way around it. I think you're going to miss context. You're going to miss things. That's the only
nuances, the dramatic pauses.
I can't concentrate on anything that focused for that long.
No,
I just can't. So trying to have something go at that speed. I mean, I like to have people kind of slow down when they communicate to me, so I make sure that I hear everything that they're saying, because there's a lot of people that don't actually say the entire word. They say like half the word when they talk. So, and it's hard to follow sometimes.
And I think what I do too is that if I even find myself drifting in the car, if traffic's got my attention or whatever, I'll just reach up to the dashboard and I'll hit pause, and so that when I can come back and actually concentrate, because some of the shows I listen to on a regular basis, I'm afraid I'm going to miss something. They're that good. I don't want to. I don't want to have a 20-second lap. I don't want to have a 30-second lap or a minute or, I really don't want to do that. Rob, we are, believe it or not, we're at the top of the hour.
Oh, we are. Wow.
It went fast.
It did go well. And we're not going our normal 90 minutes today either,
Yeah, and then that's my fault. The 14-year-old's got to earn money for his high school. This is something new. And I never did this when I was in high school. Fundraisers are now requiring to be raised thousands of dollars. His soccer team has a goal of raising $15,000 for the season, and I'm like,
wow.
I don't understand it. I mean, it's really, and they were being hard sold by their fundraiser organizer, and I just like it. Sometimes I just rather write a check, but they're trying to raise $15,000. The parents on the team can't cover that. So this is something new in high school sports. Of course, my previous kids really didn't play. Well, they ran cross country, but this is the first. It's just a little odd to me. It just seems, why are we having to raise so much money?
It does seem
maybe
rather strange.
School programs aren't supporting, I guess. But anyway, hey, folks, next Saturday we will be in Seattle, and so there will be no show next Saturday. So just want to let you know that. So we'll miss next week. But if Rob and I find a few moments, maybe we'll be able to kick something out. No promises here, but
well, and I also invited a guest for that following week's show.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Is that confirmed?
Not quite yet. I'm still talking to the PR agency, but it's a big media brand out there that has podcasts. So I invited their manager to come on to talk about advertising and talk about journalism and podcasting. So
it should be a very titillating conversation if we get, I think it's a her, right? Get her on, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So cool. Well, today our experiment with the upgraded hardware worked a little bit. We had some tweaks we'll have to make, but anyway, everyone, thanks for being here. Of course, you can reach me, Todd at blueberry.com or on Twitter at Geek News. Rob?
I can be found on Twitter at Rob Greenlee, and that's with 2 E's. And I can certainly get an email from you if you send it to rob@spreaker.com or rob@robgreenlee.com. Either one will work. So thanks.
Yep, everyone, thanks for being here. Everyone that was on the live stream, thank you so much. Gene, Clinton, Mike, Chris, everyone that came on, I definitely appreciate it. Hey, Gene, in the morning to you. How are you? That's a code word for some of us, so in the morning. But, hey, by the way, Gene, I have something special for Adam. You better pay attention. It'll be a couple weeks yet, all right? No,
the Adam?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm. Don't say anything, Gene. Don't say anything, okay? And you'll be listening. I think he will definitely talk about it. So, yeah, I have something planned for Adam. All right, everyone, thanks for being here. We'll see you next time on the New Media Show. It's been my pleasure, and of course, Rob's as well, I think, to bring you the show today. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. So everyone, take care. We'll see you next time on the New Media Show. Everyone, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
On the wrong screen. You start stuff up on this thing sequentially, then you have to shut it off sequentially. Wrong mouse, too.
Get him when that happens.
YouTube stayed up somewhat.